What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to go into today's games in general. Like I said, I was spending a lot of the day with family, so I didn't have a lot of time to go into some of the videos and into tonight's games. Like I said, I like to be honest with you guys. I like to call a spade a spade. I was off on the Raiders. I really thought that they were going to give them some kind of run, but I do see that that's not happening, so I have no problem admitting it's time to reassess. I'm not going to say, well, technically they're still not mathematically eliminated. No, they kind of showed us exactly all we needed to know. For some reason, my ESPN's taking a second to come up. But anyway, we really don't need ESPN, which is pretty cool, because we can look at it. Well, actually, I might be able to get it here. But I wanted to go into that, into tonight's game, today's games, and I do think that helps us a lot going into next week. Especially it just being the final 2 weeks of the season. There are some teams that can lose and it doesn't make a difference, but there's some that I just don't see losing now. Or like, for example, Jets, Seahawks. It makes sense on both sides for the Jets to win and for the Seahawks to lose, looking at who won and lost this week. So that always helps us. But yeah, not a great week. Now, one thing I wanted to go into, and this is vitally important in my opinion. So these were today's plays. I threw a college play in there. It's not looking too good. But essentially, these were the plays we went with. And as you can see, not great. Finished like 5-7 or something. And we closed out 3 sequences, which means we won the sequence, whether on the first leg, second leg, and that's a unit. Now, there's this Raiders 3-leg loss, which I close out typically after 3 legs. And you can see what I wrote here for the people in the Discord. And this is what I state in my videos. It accounts for 7 units. We lost 4, 2, and 1, which is 7, right? Now, it's not fun. But the reason this system has worked since September 24th when I started it is, as you can see, just last night, these were our plays, okay? And whether on the first leg or the third leg, I had saved the best metrics. I typically save the best metrics for leg 3. We closed out 7 sequences just yesterday. We were pretty similar the day before, or 2 days before, I think it was. 9 units it was. So, 2 days ago we got 9 units, and so 16 units. So that's just with basketball. So the 7-unit loss is not fun. But what I try and explain to people is, if we were to do a leg 4, which I have done before, now it's a 15-unit loss if we were to lose. And it's just not worth it, in my opinion. I'm sorry. It actually becomes, it's 15 plus a little bit of juice, but it's about a 15-unit loss. So that's the reason that I closed them. And a lot of people have once I explain that, they're like, oh, I get it now. That's what makes the system different than a traditional martingale. So for newer people watching, that's how we're able to sustain weeks like this and still be doing tremendous. So overall, we're still doing tremendous. And as far as our leg 1s, as the title shows, we're going into NBA Christmas. And it's not quite Merry Christmas to anyone who it's Christmas for yet. And I wanted to go into these games, and I think of these, again, Christmas games, a lot of times they don't mind paying the public, but there's going to be traps and there's going to be narrative games. So the first one I love, beginning of the season, I've been calling the Knicks all year, and I do think the Knicks win this game. I think they established the Knicks as a dominant team. Again, I think they're going to be a playoff team, and the Sixers can certainly afford this loss, and the Knicks are viewed as pretenders. So it meets multiple metrics, because a lot of people are going to be on the Sixers too. Now, this game's an interesting one. I think because it's Christmas and because it's the Lakers, I just think they get smashed. It also fits my narrative of the metric of they both suck against the spread, but Dallas is just slightly worse. And of all players, and I'll look into it to see if he's playing on Christmas. But when AD's out, it really for this team they seem to play the worst. It just makes they just can't hold up without him. It seems like. So I like the Knicks to cover. I like the Mavericks to cover. In this game, I like the Bucks to cover for a couple reasons. One, I think because they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, or I'm sorry, it was the round before that. But they lost. The Celtics bumped them, I think it's a little bit of revenge kind of deal. And I think they want to make this is the first time playing. It's a Christmas game. So if there's going to be any game that's close of the 5, I think it's got to be this one. So taking Milwaukee with the points here, I love that. I think the 5 is a great buffer. Now we get to the Warriors, and I love the Warriors. And the reason being, now they're moving it a little more, which is a little weird. It might just mean a lot of public's on Memphis, which, typically if that's the case, Warriors look good. But it was around 5.5 when I saw it last. But I still think people are going to remember what had just happened to the Warriors versus the Nets, how Memphis just rolled the Suns. They're going to think that the Warriors, since they still don't have Steph or Wiggins, are just awful. And I think that the narrative is they are still the Warriors, and guys like JP, Clay, Dre, they can come together and get it going. Guys like Wiseman can play good. So I think the Warriors cover this spread, and I don't think it's the route that people are going to be expecting. And then that just leaves the final game, which is Suns Nuggets. Is actually the toughest read for me. I always go to the spread here, and they move this one a lot. So this one's probably getting even action. And when you have one getting even action, it's always, for me, it's subject to change. I will say, with any of these, don't lock them in. I would lock the Knicks because 2 points I think is good. It might move to 3, but I could also see it moving to even. So I would lock the Knicks at 2, but like this one, for example, it might move to something like 5. It really might. You got book out. I think more people are going to be on the Nuggets. So right now I'd be slightly leaning the Suns. But at the same time, as I said, the Suns have all year, they've basically just let team after team just roll them. And you can see again, they haven't played. This is their first game of the season. It happened with the Pelicans. It happened with. Now they got their wins back, but the first game they got rolled basically by the Wolves, basically every up-and-comer in the West. So I can see narratives on both sides. So this one's I'm not all over right now. I'm slightly leaning Suns just because with the injuries, I think they get faded. So to go into it, in order of the ones I like the most, the reason I like the Mavericks the most, only because I think it's an unappealing spread. I don't think too many people are going to be racing out to take the Mavs -8 when they have not played that good. So that one will be a leg 2 or even leg 3, depending on how the college game goes. So just if you're tailing and not on the Discord, that's basically all I do in Discord is I go over which games I like the most. And I'll also be playing. I'll be playing more than since we lost a few football games today. We want to close them out. The Knicks are also going to be a leg 2. So I like the Knicks and the Mavs and the Bucks. I like the Bucks. So I like those 3. And as for now, the Warriors are leg 1 and Suns. We're going to see what happens overnight. Leaning Suns as a leg 1. But yeah, I don't think anything crazy happens. I just think the biggest public trap that I saw, or quote trap, would be the Warriors, just because they played so bad against the Nets. The Grizzlies played so good, and it's only 6.5. I just think it's not enough points to get people on Golden State. And even here, same thing. It's not enough points to get people, in my opinion, on the Mavs. So that's why I like those 2 games a lot. And I like the Knicks for the narrative purpose. I think they want to show the Knicks are a team not to be messed with. So that's really it. There's really not much else going on tomorrow. And, of course, we'll be hitting the NFL. For as far as our path to the playoff, we have our first official. It's not mathematically out, but I'll just call it our first official wrong team. I had the Raiders get in the 7th seed. I knew it was a stretch, but I like to, stick to my, if I have a prediction, I like to stick to it and not pretend I didn't make it. So we did have that. We were wrong there. I still think overall we're going to be right. I still think the Dolphins get in. I still think the Jets don't. I still think the Jags do and the Titans don't. And we'll go over the NFC. I haven't hit them much. And maybe with the Raiders not making the run, I'm a little more open-minded to the Packers. So we'll be going into Sunday tomorrow, because I know you said there's not a lot of football, but we do have our typical games. So I see one is the 1 o'clock game, and that is the Packers. I'm going to make that its own video just because I really want... People keep talking about how Aaron's sounding different in his videos, in his interviews. this is a really important game. I have a really strong read on Tua at home, and I'm probably going to make it a leg 2 or even a leg 3. So I just want to make sure. Well, we only have one open, leg 3 probably. So it'll probably be a leg 2. But either way, I just want to make sure that I know it looks like Packers winning makes so much more sense because now the AFC and NFC are wide open. But I just have this feeling that Rodgers is gonna seem dead again, and then he might win the next 2. So I want to look into these games, just see what they're saying about Rodgers, Tua, and what the simulation looks like with a loss. Like I said, they can lose and still get in. So and they can get in pretty easily. They just need teams that should lose to lose, and they need to win out. So I'll go into that, but we'll definitely hit the Packers Dolphins before kickoff, way before kickoff. I'll probably have it out, honestly, knowing me, in a few hours. That I'm looking into that next. This is my first chance I've had to sit down. But yeah, I wanted to go into tomorrow's NBA schedule, and the money management aspect is so vitally important. Like I said, it's the reason we've been able to maintain as long and stay in the green, because when we're picking up 5, 6, 5, units, then we get 5 more the next day, 3 more the next day. Taking a rough loss, like a 7-unit, 3-leg loss, is very, very sustainable. As far as one day, you can negate that, which we did. So I expect tomorrow, again, to pick up way more units, close out our sequences. NBA we've been doing really good with. We've been doing good overall. Just had a bad NFL week, and I'm the first to admit it. I don't like to play both sides or pretend we didn't do good. I had the wrong teams winning in a lot of games. So next week, I think we have a much better idea of what's going on, and I think we do good tomorrow. So take care, everybody. Happy earnings and Merry Christmas.